What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to 9 Innings Deep. If you remember my old channel, it was the Cubby Perspective. It's still the same channel, but I just ended up changing the name because I thought this name was better. Because I do want to do things differently this time around. Instead of just focusing on the Chicago Cubs, I will be also trickling in a little bit of the rest of the league. Don't worry, though, I'm still primarily the Chicago Cubs, and I will be focusing on the Chicago Cubs more than anything. I also made some other changes to the background. If you guys remember my old videos, you guys knew how much of a cluster it all looked and how it didn't look good at all. The lighting was a lot crappier. The backdrop was almost non existent. But now I actually have some cool pieces back there that are hopefully visually appealing for you guys. But I got the framed Brian Urlacher signed jersey. I got the World Series champion Chris Bryant 2016 MVP framed jersey right behind me. I got Patrick Kane, three-time Stanley Cup champion, also right behind me. And I got my official Tokyo Series poster number 34 out of 100 that I personally acquired when I went to the Tokyo Series in Japan last year. One last thing, because I'm committed to making this podcast as best as possible for you guys, I did end up buying a new camera. The camera is super nice. The quality is a lot better than what I had before. And I also purchased a new mic that's coming later on in the month. That's going to be a hell of a lot better than this one. I'm committed to making this podcast as best as possible for you guys because I appreciate you and all your resounding support that you've given me throughout the months. That sounds like enough rambling on for me. I think we should absolutely get into Chicago Cubs talk because there is a lot to talk about. I'm late to the party with some of the things that I'm sure you guys have heard, but I'm still going to give you guys my perspective on all of it. Starting with the controversy over the Chicago Cubs DH at the moment. Recently, Craig Counsell said that Ballesteros is not locked in the DH spot and he could go another route. That's causing a lot of uproar, and everyone's saying that Ballesteros should be the DH. And I do agree with you. I think as of right now, Ballesteros is the favorite for the DH, but we have to take a step back and relax a little bit. If Craig Counsell was straight up said on February 3rd, 2026, 2 months before the season started, that he already had his DH who has had less than probably 50 at bats in Major League Baseball, I think that would send a bad signal down the entire lineup because you do have hungry guys such as Matt Shaw. You do have Kevin Alcantara who wants playing time. You also have Jonathan Long, who's down in the minor leagues, who's been smoking the ball, last year, who's probably Major League ready anytime soon. So don't think too much into it. Ballesteros is the favorite to the DH, but he does have to go out there in spring training and show the Cubs that he is the man for that job. And like I said again, if Craig Counsell stated that Ballesteros is our DH, you got to feel for guys like Shaw, Alcantara, and Jonathan Long who are vying for everyday at-bats. And don't be surprised if you see Ballesteros sharing that position with Miguel Amaya, with Matt Shaw, and all those guys that I stated previously. Don't forget that Miguel Amaya ended the 2024 season red hot, went into 2025, started the season red hot before he got injured and banged up the entire season. Maybe Miguel Amaya is coming into his own. Maybe Miguel Amaya could be that everyday, dual combo catcher that we need, good defensively as well as good offensively. Carson Kelly fit that billet really well last year, right? So that takes pressure off Amaya, but you are going to see Amaya take some reps in the DH spot just to keep his bat being productive and so he could develop again. I couldn't think of the word. My apologies. And Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw got bumped from his third base job with the Alex Bregman signing. That's a whole different topic to discuss. But because Matt Shaw got bumped from third base, now the Cubs are left thinking, what are we going to do with Matt Shaw? We need to find a way to get value out of Matt Shaw outside of just his glove. Because our infield is stacked as can be. Alex Bregman at third base, Dansby Swanson at shortstop, Nico Horner at second base, Michael Busch at first base. He's not going to get a lot of playing time there unless guys need days off, right? Or Matt Shaw fills in the DH spot so his bat could truly develop. Matt Shaw had a wonderful second half of the season. He had an OPS over 800. And as a matter of fact, the Cubs are so highly on Matt Shaw that they view him as their new super utility guy, such as Ben Zobrist in 2016 with the Chicago Cubs. They're giving him reps already in the outfield. They want him to learn numerous positions so he could jump when needed. And that's a really valuable asset to have on any team. I'm a huge Matt Shaw fan. I've always liked Matt Shaw. I think his batting stance is definitely wacky, but it was working for him in the second half. And if he can consistently hit the ball more frequently than what he did and cut down on those strikeouts and maybe draw more walks, you're going to see Matt Shaw be a very scrappy guy, almost like a Dustin Pedroia esque. Never know. So, what I want you guys to do, I want you guys to tell me who you think will be the everyday DH for the Chicago Cubs, or better terminology, who is going to take up majority of those DH spots throughout the entire season. Moving on to free agency, the Cubs had a very quiet start to free agency, and I was getting a little animated myself, and I know a lot of you were as well, because the Cubs are a prime time organization with a lot of money to spend, and we just haven't seen that since the Dansby Swanson signing, right? But they surprised everyone, and they got themselves Alex Bregman, and that surprised me. And the timing of that contract was insane. I was with my brother. I was with some buddies of mine. We were watching the Bears game. It was a miserable time because the Bears were getting smoked by the Packers in the wild card round. The news dropped that Bregman was coming to Chicago, and in a blink of an eye, I went from being depressed to extremely excited and moving on to baseball already because I didn't think that the Bears were going to come back. Yeah, they were the comeback kids the entire season. They surprised the hell out of me. I'm very happy that they won, but that Bregman signing was incredible and incredible timing as well because I really needed a morale boost. The Cubs also had some notable free agent signings like Hunter Harvey in Kansas City. That's a completely different story, and I could go very in depth about that situation. I think that has the potential to be a wonderful signing for the Cubs. I don't think people understand how good Hunter Harvey is when he's healthy. I kind of compare Hunter Harvey to a guy like Matthew Boyd, who's been banged up, unfortunately, for so long now, and he just can't stay on the field. But boy, when he is on the field, it's something special. And I'm sure Kansas City had a tough decision on getting rid of him or not re-signing him, but it just is what it is what it is. You can't pay a guy if he's not going to ever play. Matthew Boyd was the same player. In the last 5 years, Matthew Boyd pitched less than 100 innings. Always banged up. Tommy John, shoulder injuries, everything. And you saw what he's capable of when he pitches an entire healthy full season. He went from less than 100 innings in 5 years to 180 innings last year. And yes, Matthew Boyd dropped off. And quite frankly, I saw it coming from a mile away. I think Craig Counsell and Tommy Hotovy and et cetera, they could have handled his load management a lot better. I don't think Matthew Boyd should have been pitching as much as he has because he blew past his normal amount, right? But if the Cubs could find that sweet spot for Hunter Harvey and they could lower his load management throughout the season and try ramping him up as the season goes on, you're going to see him being a potential setup man, a potential closer, because he has electric stuff, flamethrower, nasty wipeout slider, etc. And last free agency move that I am going to talk about is Edward Cabrera. Edward Cabrera, that shocked me and that rocked me as a matter of fact. I knew Owen Casey was going to be a part of that deal because Edward Cabrera is a wonderful pitcher. Electric stuff. If this guy could stay healthy, the Cubs got themselves an absolute ace. And I remember back in MLB 2022 or something, right? Edward Cabrera on Diamond Dynasty. That guy was terrifying. If you're playing multiplayer and you come across a guy that's using Edward Cabrera, yeah, you're done. This guy's throwing 104 or 103. Now, I don't know if he throws that hard in real life, but he does have a very live arm, and he could probably hit 100 miles per hour. But health is a big question mark with him, just like Hunter Harvey and Matthew Boyd. If Edward Cabrera could stay healthy for the Chicago Cubs, we have ourselves a very good pitcher. And not only do we have a very good pitcher, we have a pitcher that completely extends our pitching rotation. All of a sudden, you go from, dang, Justin Steele's out, right? Shota Imanaga, what happened with him in the latter half of the season? Completely fell off. He's throwing batting practice out there. To, oh, crap, Cade Horton's healthy. Edward Cabrera is our number 2. Jackson Wiggins, our number 1 pitching prospect in our farm system and a very highly regarded pitching prospect throughout the league, is ready to burst through that roof and enter into MLB. He's going to be an exciting arm to watch. You have Jameson Taillon, who's been solid for us for a few years now. You have Matthew Boyd, who's coming off a wonderful season. Yeah, he got tired towards the end of the season. I get that. But he should be healthy again. I have no reason to believe why Matthew Boyd wouldn't be healthy. I trust Tommy Hotovy. I trust Craig Counsell. I trust our medical training staff. I think this rotation lacked depth for so many years, and now you go into this season with a crap ton of depth to where you're almost thinking, how am I going to pitch all these guys? Javier Assad, Jordan Wicks, Ben Brown. Those are all guys who are capable of starting games. Colin Ray, you saw the season he had last year. He had a great season for us. I'm very happy Colin Ray is back with Chicago. But yeah, depth is a major thing, and I think the Cubs played their cards right. And I got to tip my cap to Jed Hoyer because I've been a harsh criticizer of him. I openly admit that. And now I see the moves he make, and I think the Cubs are a legitimate World Series contending team. Yeah, we got to deal with the likes of the Dodgers, and most likely they will three-peat. But baseball is a very hard sport, and a lot could happen, right? The Dodgers are one Shohei Ohtani away from being If Shohei Ohtani leaves that lineup, I don't think the Dodgers are taking it. That's how much he means. I'm not rooting for injuries, but that's just the case. And that goes the same with the Cubs. But the Cubs are in a much better spot to contend now because of our depth, right? If Alex Bregman goes down, he only played in 114 games last year. Don't worry, we got Matt Shaw, who's more than capable of playing third base. And his back came around in the second half of the season. Jed Hoyer and Tom Ricketts set this team up for success. Not only do they have firepower in the lineup and the pitching staff, they have quality depth now, which is arguably one of the most important things across the sport. Quality depth. Good job. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I am still shaking the rust off, so please mind me. It's been far too long. I stopped recording videos around the All-Star break just because I wasn't liking the direction of my podcast, and I needed to step away to reevaluate the situation. I was doing it for all the wrong reasons, but now I got my head back on my shoulders. I'm amped up for the season. I'm going to spring training in March with my good friend Joe and my brother Brandon. It's going to be a hell of a time. I'm Cubby down, baby. I'm stealing Bear down. I'm bringing it to the Cubs. Cubby down as well. Why not? They're both Bears. Both Bears. But moving forward, instead of leaving you guys to wonder what I'm going to be recording next, I am going to be sharing what I'll be talking about for my next episode. Now, I don't have a schedule yet because I am pretty busy with school and work and all that kind of stuff. I am going to try and release a few episodes per week, 2 at the minimum for you guys. But my next episode is going to be completely breaking down the pitching staff. Who's our ace? Who's our number 2, number 3, so on and so forth. Pitching staff, including the bullpen. Jed Hoyer created a whole new bullpen. He signed guys like Phil Madden and a bunch of other guys. Cale Thielbar is back, right? So we're going to go over who I think is going to be our closer, who I think is going to be a setup man, projections, and all that kind of stuff. But again, I really appreciate you guys for the ones who tuned in, for the ones who are continuing to give me support, for the ones who are in my corner giving me advice and all that. I appreciate all of you. And I can't wait to make another video because I love baseball and I love the Cubs and I love you guys.